6 na taong gulang ako nung nangyari ito at hanggang ngayon ay sariwa pa din ito sa aking alaala. Naalala kong may isang gabi noon na natutulog ako kasama sila mama, papa at kapatid kong babae. Nakahiga kaming lahat noon sa isang kama. Doon sa tapat ng higaan namin ay mayroon kaming mahabang salamin. Sa kalagitnaan ng gabi, nagising ako at hindi ko alam, pero parang may umudyok sa aking titigan ng salamin. Tumingin ako doon at nang maka-adjust ng mga mata ko sa dilim, doon ko nakita na mayroong isang babaeng bigla na lang lumabas doon sa salamin. Nakasuot siya ng puting damit at ang kanyang muka ay natatakpan ng kanyang mahabang buhok. Katulad ng babae sa daring, pero noong mga panahon na yun ay hindi ko pa yun napapanood. Napansin ko din yung malakas na liwanag na nanggagaling doon sa babae. Tandang-tanda ko pa din ito dahil naalala kong nasisilaw ako noon sa kanya. Dahan-dahang naglakad noon yung babae mula sa kung nasaan yung salamin at tumagos doon sa may dulong pader. Nung mga oras na yun ay nawala na ako ng lakas makasigaw. Nagtalokbong na lang ako ng kumot gawa ng sobrang takot. Hindi ko alam kung bakit, pero hindi ko lang ginising sila mama noon. Sinabi ko lang sa kanilang nakita ko kinabukasan at pinaniwalaan naman nila ako. Hindi na bagong paranormal sa bahay namin, pero ayan ang isa sa mga pinaka hindi ko makakalimutan. Ngayon, masasabi kong hindi ako talagang naniniwala sa multo dahil parang ayun lang yung karanasan ko simula noon. Minsan, may mga nakikita akong gumagalaw sa gilid ng aking paningin, pero hindi ko na ito masyadong pinagtutuunan pa ng pansin. Lumaki akong walang nararanasan kahit anong paranormal hanggang sa tumungtong ako sa aking 20s. Ako at ang aking asawa ay tumira sa isang lumang pabahay para sa mga sundalo na itinayo noong 1930s. Sa unang taon namin nakatira doon, ay wala naman kaming napansing kakaiba bukod sa mga nakikita o naririnig daw na tunog ng asawa ko. Isiniwalang bahala ko na lang yun at inisip na baka naninibago o namamahay pa lang kami. Pero nagbago ang lahat pagtapos naming magkaanak. Unang naranasan ko ay yung mga pagpaparamdam doon sa kwarto ng anak ko. Grabe yung negatibong nararamdaman ko doon. Sa tuwing papasok ako, ay laging may mga parte ng kwartong sobrang lamig at ibang-iba talaga yung pakiramdam ko kapag nandoon sa loob. Noong isang gabing natulog doon yung asawa ko, nagulat ako nang makita kong mayroong tumakbong pusa galing doon sa kwarto. Takang-taka ako noon dahil wala naman kaming alagang kahit ano at wala ding pwedeng lusutan kung sakali mang may nakapasok na pusa sa kwarto. Pinuntahan ko yung kwarto ng anak ko, pero okay naman siyang natutulog. Tinanong ko yung asawa ko kung nakita ba niya yung pusa at siya din ay takang-taka kung saan ito nanggaling. Chinek ko yung salas at yung lugar na pwedeng pagtakbuhan ng pusa, pero hindi ko ito makita. Inisa-isa ko din yung mga pintong pwedeng lusutan ito, pero lahat ng bintana at pinto namin ay sarado. Yung pangalawang beses kong karanasan ay nangyari lang noong nakaraang gabi. Buong weekend kaming wala sa bahay dahil galing kami sa camping trip. Late na kami nakauwi noon at kinarga ko yung anak ko papunta sa kwarto niya para matulog. Bandang 2:00 na ng madaling araw nang kami matutulog na ng aking asawa. Patulog na sana ako noon nang makarinig ako ng magkakasunod na malalakas na katok. Yung tipo ng katok na parang pasuntok yung pagtama ng kamay. Nanatilin lang ako nakahiga at pinakinggan ko ulit ito ng mga ilang segundo bago ako bumangon. Pagkatayo ko, ay tinanong ako ng asawa ko kung narinig ko din daw yung katok at dun ko nga nakumpirmang hindi ko yun guni-guni. Chinek ko yung main door namin dahil baka may emergency at kung sino yung kumakatok sa 10 oras ng gabi. Pero pagdating ko dun, ay walang tao. Chinek ko din yung labas ng bahay, pati yung bawat sulok sa loob. Pero wala ring bakas ng tao. Kinabukasan, sinubukan naming i-reenact ng asawa ko yung pagkatok. Nagstay ako nakahiga sa kama at siya naman ay susubukang katukin yung mga katabing pader, pinto at bintana ng aming kwarto. Lahat ng mga tunog ay malayo doon sa napakinggan ko. Ang tanging tunog na masasabi kong kaparehas ng lakas ay nung kinatok ng asawa ko yung pinto ng kwarto namin. Hanggang ngayon, wala pa din kaming ideya kung ano o sino yung kumatok noon. At nang naglaon, kinilalan lang namin yung mga pagpaparamdam bilang parte ng bahay. Hindi kami natatakot o ano. Sa katunayan, pinangalanan pa nga namin yung nagpaparamdam na Steve. Bukod doon sa nabanggit kong mga pangyayari, patuloy pa din yung mga pagpaparamdam sa bahay namin. Gaya ng madalas pa ding may kumakalabog doon sa dingding ng kwarto ng anak ko. Tapos yung biglang may nagsasara ng pinto, ilaw na patuloy sa pagpatay-sindi. May palagi din ako nakikitang mga sulat-sulat doon sa kwarto ng anak ko. Meron ding mga aninong bigla lang ding dumadaan. Madalas mangyari ito doon sa kwarto ng anak ko. At hinahayaan na lang namin ito sa kanyang pagpaparamdam. Nakaupo ko sa may porch namin habang naninigarilyo. Habit ko nang gawin yon gabi-gabi. Mag-isa lang ako nun sa bahay dahil nasa trabaho ang aking boyfriend. Nabigla lang may narinig akong nakakabinging sigaw. Tumingin ako sa labas at nakita ko yung pinagmumula ng sigaw ay nanggagaling doon sa babaeng naglalakad sa may street namin. Tuloy-tuloy pa din ito sa pagsigaw niya hanggang sa tumiting ito sa akin. Naisip ko nun, baka may problema siya sa pag-iisip. O kaya naman, ay under influence ng kung anong substance. Pero may napansin lang akong kakaiba sa kanyang pagsigaw. Parang hindi ito pang tao. Mas tumatagal, mas narealize kong wala pa akong narinig na ganitong klase ng sigaw na nanggagaling mula sa tao. Noon ko na naisip na baka ang babae na nasa street ay hindi ordinaryong nilalang. Baka siya ay isang skinwalker o kaya naman ang babae ay isang Banshee. Kaunting backstory kung bakit sa tingin ko ang pagsigaw na ito ay warning na maaaring may masamang mangyari sa boyfriend ko. Nung nakarang gabi kasi, nagkaroon kami ng halos parehas na panaginip ng aking mama. Sa panaginip ko, namatay ang boyfriend ko. Sa panaginip naman ni mama, ay nanganak daw ako. At nasa tabi ko daw si mama. At paulit-ulit daw niyang sinasabi sa akin na aalagaan niya kami, gaya ng pangako niya sa boyfriend ko. At may pagpapahiwatig siya sa kanyang boses na patay na ang boyfriend ko. Hindi ko pa din masabi kung ano talaga yung nakita ko doon sa babae. Hindi ko alam kung meron ba siyang koneksyon sa panaginip o mangyayari sa hinaharap. Pero kung meron man kayong ideya, ay handa ako itong pakinggan. Lady from the Mirror by Livid Anon. I was 6 when this happened.
It is still clear as day in my mind. I was sleeping with my mom, dad, and sister. We had this long body mirror in front of the bed. I woke up in the middle of the night and I stared at the mirror, and I can't stress enough how real this was. But a lady came out of the damn mirror, slowly. I'm getting goosebumps writing this right now. I couldn't see her face because it was covered with long hair, and she was wearing a white dress, really similar to The Ring, but I haven't watched it at the time. And she was glowing. The reason why I still remember it was because she was literally so bright. She didn't emit any light to her surroundings, but it was on her, like an aura. She slowly walked from one end of the room. Into the other, just going through the wall. I didn't scream, but I just hid in my blanket. I don't know why, but I didn't try to wake anyone up. But when morning came, I told my family, and they believed me. Paranormal is an uncommon thing in our house, but that is the most memorable of my encounters. Today, I'll say that I don't believe in ghosts, because I haven't seen one like that since. I only see movements from the corners of my eyes, or black figures I'd think was a member of my family, but just wasn't. But I don't really take that into much deeper thought. Never believed in paranormal stuff until now. By Klutzy_Novel 8991. I've lived my entire life without any paranormal experiences until I turned around 20. Me and my wife live in an old military housing built in the 1930s. For the first year, we didn't notice much. My wife would tell me every day she was seeing or hearing stuff. I would just shrug it off. Well, after my daughter was born, holy, maybe some of you can help me understand what some of this means. My two most solid paranormal experiences that made me believe in ghosts. First off, my daughter's room is the worst. Every time I go in there, I get an uncomfortable feeling. It gets cold in certain spots, and the general feeling in the room is off. I usually would argue with my wife because I didn't want her sleeping in there. My wife one night decides to sleep in there. Stayed up most of the night, hovering around the room, periodically checking on her. Well, around 45 minutes later, I get up next to my front door, and I'm talking to my wife. Turn my head towards my daughter's room. A tiny animal, what looked like a cat, came running out of my daughter's room. I could even hear the little footsteps. It looked so mad and real. I looked at my wife, very confused, because we didn't have any animals. I asked her, "Did you see what I just saw?" I then ran into my daughter's room, and nothing. I checked into the hall where the animal could have ran, but both doors leading to the kitchen and bathroom were closed. Nothing. I stayed up until 7 a.m. thinking about that. I googled into it and never came across anything valuable. My second time happened just yesterday night. Me and my wife just got back from a camping trip. We got home really late and were getting my daughter ready for bed. We hadn't been back to the house for the weekend. It was around 2 a.m. when we got fully in bed. I was dozing off, my wife was dozing off, and my daughter was asleep. as soon as I was able to fall asleep, I hear 3 consecutive knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Not like bare hand knocks, but knuckle, high-pitched knocks. I lay there for about 5 seconds before I got up. As soon as I stood up, my wife asked me if I heard it too. We both thought we imagined it. I thought it was someone at my front door at 2 a.m. I checked outside of my house and the inside, but nothing. The next morning, I made my wife knock on different places of the house while I laid in the same position in bed. The window, the front door, the kitchen door, and then our bedroom door. Everything else either sounded different or too far away to hear it, so it had to be my bedroom door. Me and my wife tend not to acknowledge anything that happens in the house unless we for sure saw or heard the same thing with clarity. We aren't scared of it by any means, more or less, just astonished at what is happening. I've jokingly started to name the entity Steve, and my daughter is back sleeping in our room, FYI. Aside from my 2 major events, the usual stuff I deal with, I usually try to disprove, and my wife hates it. First, banging on my daughter's walls. Second, doors closing on their own. Third, a giraffe in my daughter's room at all times. Still haven't found why. Fourth, shadows, figures, moving in my daughter's room. Fifth, lights and sparks also coming from my daughter's room. I think I saw a Banshee who's warning me my boyfriend will pass soon by today, tomorrow, 8895. So, the other night, I was sitting on my porch, smoking a cigarette, as I usually do late at night. I was home alone. My boyfriend was at work at the time, and I just hear really loud screaming. I look behind me, and I see what looks like a woman just walking down the street, screaming at the top of her lungs, and she looked right at me. My initial thought was maybe it was just some weirdo or someone under the influence of something. But after more thought, I realized that the scream didn't really sound human. It sounded like something I've never heard before. After that, I thought maybe it was a skinwalker, but my mother informed me that chances are it was a Banshee. For some backstory on why I think maybe she's warning me of my boyfriend's passing is because a couple of nights before the potential Banshee sighting, me and my mom had very similar dreams. In my dream, my boyfriend had passed, and I was trying to figure out how to cope with his passing. In my mom's dream, I was giving birth to a child and kept saying, "I need to take care of the baby. I promised their father I would," hinting at the idea that the father was dead. I don't know what I saw, but I'm hoping for maybe some insight on banshees and just help me figure out what I saw. I saw online that Irish families can have their own banshee, and I'm 3rd-generation American from an Irish family, if that has any relevance.